Hi, Alegre from Ember Living, here today with Mary Marks, author and friend and mentor of mine. Say hi, Mary.
Hi, everybody.
Mary and I have known each other for a very long time. I'm not actually sure how many years, maybe 15 years, something around there.
More, yeah.
Many years. We go way back. And I did a written interview of her about 2.5 years ago on my website. And with the advent in technology, I thought it would be really fun for us to do a video interview together and catch up with Mary. So Mary is super inspiring to me, and I just want to share a little bit why before I start asking your questions. But Mary actually had her first book published when she was 70, and she's going strong. She actually just had her 4th book published this June 2016, and is working on book number 5 pretty soon. And she won an award for book number 3, given by a really large magazine called Romantic Times for Best Amateur Sleuth. So Mary, just so you can acquaint everyone a little bit with the genre you write. So you write cozy mysteries. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
A cozy mystery has rules of its own. The main character has to be an amateur sleuth. It's usually a woman, although not always. It's written along the lines of Agatha Christie in that there's no overt sex, no overt violence. All of that takes place off stage. So it's a little bit lighter, and it's less likely to have offensive language. And quite often it's written with humor. And there are different subgenres of cozy mysteries, and I write in a subgenre called cozy craft mysteries, in that my main character is a quilter, and all her friends are quilters, and so quilting figures as a sort of a theme in all of the books. But there are craft books written about cooking, baking, crochet, clothing design, just any sort of activity that a woman might engage in as a hobby or is featured in the subgenre of cozy craft mysteries. Yeah.
So it's kind of like Murder, She Wrote, right? For people who remember Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah, it's an awful lot like Murder, She Wrote, and like all of the Agatha Christie and the Poirot that you've probably seen on PBS. Yeah.
And quilting is something that you are personally very passionate about, right?
Oh, yeah. When I had to take an early retirement at the age of, I think I was 47, and due to a disability. And I was casting around for something to do, and I'd always liked quilts. So I got into quilting in a really big way. And I was quilting day and night for 12 years, and I accumulated a lot of text because I wanted to write about each of my quilts, what had inspired it and who it was for and how long it took me to make. And I found out that with each of my quilts, I was writing a sort of an anecdote. And I had made over 100 quilts, so I had accumulated binders full of these little anecdotes. And I thought, gee, maybe I should write a memoir or something. So I I went to UCLA and I took classes in memoir writing for about 4 years. And then on a whim, I took a workshop on mystery writing because I really like to listen to mysteries on books on tape while I was quilting. And I really got hooked. And I thought, gee, I could do this. And so that's how I got into writing cozy mysteries and having to do with quilting, because the old adage is write what you know. So my main character is a divorced Jewish overweight quilter who lives in the San Fernando Valley.
So bears no resemblance to you.
I can't say that. I mean, she's totally me, except I don't stumble across dead bodies every day.
And it was interesting, in your first book, you really worked, the quilt was actually almost a character in the book.
Yes.
So it's not just this little thing that your character does on the side. It was the focal point.
No, I sprinkle a lot of quilting lore, women's history, American history, throughout my books as sort of a sub-theme to justify that it's really a quilting mystery. And the quilts do play a major part in the third book, Gone But Not Forgotten. The quilt is also a major character.
And so when did you start writing your first book? How old were you?
Let's see. I have to think back. It's probably around 65 when I started writing my first murder mystery. And it needed a lot of help. So I joined a workshop and with other writers, and I reworked the book until I liked it. And then I entered it in a national competition thinking, oh, what the heck, you know? And I came in third. And I was so shocked. So I was advised to look for an agent to represent the book. And I was thinking, well, you know, I'll become a writer and I'll supplement my retirement income, right? Thinking that, oh yeah, anybody can do it. And I actually found an agent on the 10th, I think the 10th try. I found an agent who wanted to represent me. And she sent out the book and sold it within 3 days. And I got a contract with a New York publisher. She said, what kind of publisher do you want? And I said, a big one. So I signed with Kensington Books, and they're the largest independently owned publishing house in the country. And they've been very good to me, very good.
So, Mary, what I love about you is that you've always been a very vibrant, live life out loud kind of person. Even before you were writing, you and I were very active in our neighborhood, doing a lot of local politics and community building. And I just love how engaged you are, no matter what age you are. What do you have to say for people who maybe are feeling like nothing new can happen to them? Everything that's happened to them in their life has already happened. You know, pursuing a dream like becoming a published author would be just outlandish. What advice do you have for people who might think that way?
Are you referring to older women? Are you referring to younger women? Or?
It could be all ages. I meet people of all ages who just think where they are in life is all that can possibly be. And something like pursuing a creative interest that maybe they've had their whole life, it's too late for that. You know, you live very fearlessly. Do you have any
I've been gifted that way. I think it's probably kind of foolhardy because I've been a risk taker all of my life, and sometimes it's paid off and sometimes it hasn't. I mean, I've been divorced 4 times. So not all of my risks are well thought out. Let me put it that way. But I would have to say that if you have something that you love, just pursue it. And if it brings you happiness, just take it as far as it'll go. You don't have to, if you like to write, you don't have to become a published author. You can just write for writing's sake and join a group of other like-minded people. And if it brings you pleasure, fine. If you want to take it further, then go get some professional help, somebody to help you along the way to do it. I certainly didn't do this all by myself. I had help all along the way and advice. And, you know, someday we're all going to go into that big sleep. and everything that was possible will no longer be possible anymore. It'll all be over. So before I get to my big sleep, I want to try everything. And I've always wanted to try everything. And so I don't know whether you can see it, but I now have turquoise hair.
I love it. Turn to the side so there's a better view. I think it's better on the other side, actually. Yeah, see, you can see the blue a lot more.
Yeah, so at the age of 73, I went to my hairstylist and I said, give me aqua hair. And she did. Yeah.
I think that's great. I completely agree with you about the just right to just right. And if it turns into something, great, but just do it for yourself.
I have a box full of stuff that I've written throughout my life, and I never intended for it to be published. It'll never get published. It's not good enough to be published. Some of it is just journal stuff, and journal stuff is not, it's usually a lot of whining and venting. But I've always written a little bit, you know, but when I first decided to write about my quilts, I took all of these binders to my daughter. I have a daughter who is a real writer and an editor and works in publishing. And I showed it to her and I said, what do you think? And she said, you know, Mom, I think you really have something here, but you need to take a writing class. And I thought, what is she talking about? I used to help her with her college papers and big deal writer over here. But then I thought about it and I thought, she is a big deal writer and she does know what she's talking about. And she's advised a lot of people. And maybe I should just listen to her. So I went and took classes. And I'm very glad I did, because it channeled me. It took a few years of going to classes and writing and practicing and exploring, but eventually I ended up where I ended up, much to my surprise. Didn't think it would ever turn into this.
So how many more stories about Martha do you have? Do you have a plan?
Well, I've just turned in my 5th manuscript and I'm about ready to start on the 6th book. And I have a pretty good idea of what it's going to be about. It's going to involve DNA. And you know how you spit in a vial and send it away and they give you your DNA profile? Well, I'm going to have my main character, Martha, do that, because she doesn't really know a lot about her father's family, and she's going to find out some really interesting stuff.
Wow. And do you think you have a few more Martha books, or do you have another?
You know, I didn't think I had more than one in me. And and the publisher said, the publisher wanted to sign me to a 3-book contract. So I thought, oh, how am I ever going to write 3 books? But I did. I write 1 a year, and I give myself about 9 months, and I work with an instructor in a group, and that helps a lot. And when I was through with the 3rd book, they were doing so well that they said they wanted 3 more books. And so I signed another contract for 3 books. And now I'm seeing the end of that contract. And if they want to renew more, I have to decide whether or not I have more stories in me. I mean, I think I do, but I didn't know I had this many to begin with. But you know, when you live a long time, you store up a lot of experiences.
This is true. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mary. A pleasure as always.
Alegre, it was wonderful to see you. I know that you and I used to be neighbors, and we live quite a ways away from each other now, but I always remember you with fondness, and your handsome husband and your beautiful daughter. And of course, your lovely spirit.
Thank you so much, Mary. Take care.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.